It's wonderful. Thank you, Jasmine. So good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever around the world that you may be or joining us later watching this recording. But thank you for joining us. My name is Sebastian. I'm one of the co-founders of the AICA group with Emily Pacheco. We're also joined by Jasmine, who's on our sort of board of directors and advisors, here to help with anything in the background, answering questions in the chat. Do know that you unfortunately can't chat us, but use that Q&A function as the best way to ask questions throughout the entire presentation. Don't feel compelled to just leaving those at the end. But that is enough about me. I'll do a little bit of moderating today, but we're gonna jump to our introductions of our panelists. Julia, you wanna get us started and tell us a little bit about yourself and ESAI?
Sure. Hey everyone, thanks for joining. I am Julia Dixon and I'm the founder of SAI. I'm a former independent college advisor, have been helping students with the admissions process for about 8 years now, and in 2023 saw the potential for AI to help more students, to help a wider range of students, to help students who weren't able to get outside help. And that was kind of the initial launch for starting SAI. We originally launched a product that helps students come up with better and more intentional college essay topics. And now we offer a range of tools that help with the college admissions process rooted in personal storytelling. So excited to show you more about it and talk to everyone here.
Thanks, Julia. We'll kick it over to Vivian.
Thanks so much. It's great to meet everybody here. My name is Vivian. I'm the CEO of Junie Learning and Acely AI. So Acely AI is our AI tutor to help students ace all of their tests. We're starting with the SAT, ACT, and APs for our high school students. A little bit about me. I studied computer science at Stanford. I founded Junie in 2017, to originally do live classes with our younger students, starting as young as 8 years old, to teach them STEM. And then we evolved the company to launch Acely last year. And it's been really incredible to work with this sort of different cohort of students and work with them towards their college admissions goals. So we work with students across high school, obviously, to help them prepare for these exams. So I'm excited to be here to learn more from these folks and also share what we've been doing in the space.
Thanks, Vivian. We'll kick it over to Madhu and Dabble.
Absolutely. It's my privilege and honor to be here. Thank you so much for forming this wonderful group. A little bit about myself. I'm a mom. I have raised 2 children who have gone through this journey of high school to college, and the path is not easy. It's always worrying, it's always stressful, and teenagers are a very unique personality where opening up is not easy for them. They want the support that's personalized to them. I'm also a technologist. I've been in the tech industry for 25 years, and I was seeing this journey, just like what Julia was saying and what Vivian was alluding to as well. The problem started becoming evident more and more, and that led to me leaving my job at one point and starting this company, Dabble, where we provide students highly personalized college and career recommendations tailored to their interests and preferences. And it's all data-driven and AI-backed. And it is kind of a holistic platform. As we'll go through that, I'll show you that as well. But that's a little bit about myself.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Bob.
Thanks, Sebastian. Good morning or afternoon, everyone. It's really a pleasure being here. I'm Bob Block, a co-founder of CGN, which we started about 4 years ago. Interesting, picking up on Meta's last comments about being a parent. Our focus actually is parents of high school students, although of course we serve counselors, we serve kids, but the primary audience for our platform is parents. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the demo. My background, I've spent 25 years in K-12 education in a variety of different companies and roles, most recently last 10 years in the testing industry, both with ETS and ACT. So I'm kind of in the world of high school to college and high school to career is very much kind of front and center. And also myself and my co-founder, at the time we started the company in 2020, we were also parents of high school kids, and we're kind of struggling with this difficult process, somewhat opaque for kids, and it's obviously a very consequential decision. And we felt there needed to be a tool that counselors could use to really help students and engage parents, and that's what we've created in CGN.
Awesome. Thank you all. And again, appreciate your time being here with us today. So we're going to take a couple minutes to sort of set the scene. A lot of the panel discussion to sort of start with how we're helping students with these tools to streamline their path to college. And then, of course, we'll get into some amazing demos in just a second. But Julia, I want to start with you. And how can we teach students sort of the distinction between using AI to help throughout the process, as opposed to, unfortunately, like on the college side, my daytime job is with the University of Oregon, and we're already starting to see a lot of students that are cutting those corners. They're, very AI and not refined or revised essays, those kinds of things. So how can we help them through this process and using AI to present those, still true and authentic essays without being overly AI forward or polished?
Yeah, I definitely get asked about this a lot. I mean, we're called SAI, so we think a lot about the college essay. And I think the college essay is a place a lot of people get concerned. How do we make sure you're not outsourcing your writing, outsourcing your ideas, and staying true to your story and your voice and how you tell it? I mean, there's a couple golden rules that I come back to. I talk to admissions officers, and I'm sure you've seen things like this yourself, who say they've seen things as blatant as a student copying and pasting the note at the bottom, which is like ChatGPT can make mistakes, and then wow, students really not putting their own work into this. But at the same time, I think there's a way to use AI to explore yourself, to understand yourself better, to understand how you tell your story better, and find ways to make a more cohesive story when it comes to connecting the things about you to the school you're going to the goals you're trying to achieve there. And I think the comparison I often make is the way that students have been engaging with human tutors, human advisors, like I'm sure a lot of the people on this call. If the human tutor was writing an entire essay for you, giving you entire paragraphs to copy and paste, I think everyone would agree that's not an ethical use of an assistant, of human support. I think very similarly in AI, I tell people the golden rule is AI should not be producing final products. If you're copying and pasting things from ChatGPT or any tools, then this is probably not an ethical use of AI. If you're using it for things like brainstorming, flow of ideas, finding connections between who you are in the school, this is a lot of how my tool is set up. It's not set up to produce things like here's the entire essay that you can copy and paste, but instead here's a way we can think about framing and storytelling. So another sentence I hear a lot is AI is an assistant, not an author. If it's doing your writing for you, that tends to be where the line is for us. But I think engaging with ethical products that know where that line is a really good way to combat that as well.
Yeah, that's a great insight. And I think kind of extending from that, how can students use AI in an ethical manner? Again, right, like it's kind of the core part of this, without violating university policies. Or Julia, as you mentioned, I mean, I talk to a lot of students, especially as they're starting their college search, that they need to do this internal search before they do this external search. And I think AI tools can really help students understand what are their passions, what majors do they want to actually explore. But how can these AI tools help students navigate university policies or better align with university priorities, aligning with their mission statements with a specific school or a major, or other, ethical concerns around a university, if anyone can speak to that.
I'm sure other people want to weigh in, but I just quickly want to say that I think the research piece in finding how you align with schools and their mission statement or their specific programs, like this is one of the awesome places that AI can make a huge difference. Like it used to be you had to dig through physical pamphlets or go to the campus and get all this information to find like why you would want to go there and then how you tell your story in that context. Then we got Google, and you can go deep into the websites of these schools and find the specific reasons you want to go there and how you're going to tell that story. And now it's like this incredible personalized research tool where we can dig deep into who you are and find really specific things about the schools that align with that, whether it's their values and programs, whether it's specific classes they offer that you're not seeing at other schools, or even the clubs and extracurriculars there. So from a research perspective, the personalization you can do when it comes to both picking schools and telling that story, I think is really exciting.
Yeah, I just
Absolutely.
want
I
to
completely agree with what Julia just said. You know, this hyper personalization, this finding the details about every college. I think that is where AI is creating big waves and bringing it to the students in a manner that is meaningful to them.
I just want to add that I think I'm a little more in the camp of Julia, what she was mentioning too, that I'm an AI optimist. I think anytime there's new technology, there's really amazing things that you can do with that technology. And obviously, there are cases where it can be used unethically, but there are a lot of, the reality is the future of the world is that students will need to learn how to use these tools.
Mhm.
And anytime this new technology comes out, it's an opportunity for them to use those tools well and to also further their own learning. I think it's always a bit cliche to say they're only cheating themselves if they do these kinds of things, but it is the reality here. If you basically only know how to copy and paste out of ChatGPT, you're not going to do well at some point later down the line in your career. And so a lot of the students that we work with them on how do you use these assistants to supercharge what you're doing. If you wouldn't ask a human to do your homework for you, you probably shouldn't take that same step with ChatGPT, and that generally goes over well. There will always be students, I think, who in either a moment of desperation or whatever else, they will do things that I think are less ethical, but it's also a learning experience for them. So generally, I try to just have an open dialogue with folks that they have to learn how to use these tools, and then how do we just draw the line? But when Google came out, I think a lot of people also thought that they would copy and paste things from the open internet into their essays. And obviously, it's actually become a really great research tool for them as well. So I just think there's a lot of opportunity. And as long as we focus on that, I think it's a good future for us.
Yeah, so I think the bottom line that it comes down to is how do we teach people, everybody around us, not just students, all of us as well, right? I mean, how do we teach everybody around us the right and ethical ways of using it, and using it as a tool to help you understand the lay of the land around you better? Be it problem solving, be it writing your essays, be it brainstorming things, right? I mean, use the help. It's a tool.
Yeah, and Vivian, I like the term, AI optimist. Emily and I, when we founded AICA, we're kind of more towards the term like AI positive, and we hope that positivity spreads. And we certainly appreciate those that aren't necessarily, the pessimists. They'll call themselves the realists of, asking those questions and making sure that this is an ethical tool for, our students and universities. I mentioned earlier, like university policies, and I think that's something that universities need to be better about. They need to set the standards for students to then understand what is allowed or not allowed. And we've seen a pretty wide spectrum, from no AI use can be prevalent in your application at all, or it might, rescind your application, to institutions that are very, AI optimistic and kind of embracing this new technology and helping our students. I'm curious on your all's perspective on sort of that ethical use of AI with college applications, and more specifically on the tools that universities might use to identify AI use. There's a lot out there right now that it's not necessarily the most accurate, but are there other platforms that folks aren't aware of, or other ethical cases that we need to look forward to help our students kind of meet those standards from the universities?
Sebastian, we take a little bit of a different approach because we're very high school centric. Our program is, we basically sell to state departments of education and to high schools, right? So we think of this as, how do we build a tool that counselors can use to better kind of engage their students and their families in this kind of navigating this high school to post-secondary process. So it's not we don't really look at it as a college centric process. It's really more high school. And so in that context, we've created guardrails within our AI tool, which we call Ava, so that if a student asks, to write an essay, Ava will say, I'm not necessarily programmed to do that. That's not what I do. I'm happy to, engage with the student on essay topics, but not going to write the essay. So we have to almost build our program kind of from the high school out to the college so that we're trying to help that student make the right decision, but to some degree trying to force them to make the right decision as opposed to allowing them to even write an essay using our tool. That's not something that we allow currently, because again, we want to think about it in the context of what would a counselor want their students to be doing.
Yeah, I love that. And Vivian, you mentioned, for students, like as much as we're having these conversations around their essays in universities, we also really have to prepare for what's going to be, 5, 10 years down the road. And as someone that's, frequently face to face with students at college fairs or high school presentations, getting more and more questions about the use of AI and technology as something like a potential major. And Madhu and Bob, as parents, I'm curious if you have any insight on what potential majors might be good options for students that are really sort of infatuated with AI. And, is this sort of an interdisciplinary field like the liberal arts where it can bleed into other areas, or should students really stick to the traditional STEM background and heavy coding and those kinds of things?
So I can get started, and Bob, feel free to
Sure.
jump in anytime. The way I see this, the technical careers is one aspect of AI, and software technical careers is one aspect of AI. But there are so many different things that are evolving as the entire AI landscape evolves. I mean, technical careers, you can go into being a machine learning engineer, you can go into being an AI research scientist, software developer, robotics engineer, all of that, hardware engineer for that matter, is all there. But then there are data-centric roles as well. You can be, like I said, machine learning engineer. There can be always that. You can be a data analyst. You should be able to qualify the quality of the AI tool that you're writing, right? So there's that as well. And then there are applied AI roles from from as the landscape's evolving, you can see a lot of that. There are AI. We are all AI enthusiasts. We are all using AI to create tools. We are all applying AI, right? I mean, some of us are training, some of us are not training the models. So it's the applied side of the role. And then there will, we all spoke about ethics, we all spoke about compliance, and we spoke from the students, parents, colleges perspective, but there is a lot of AI's ethical aspect of AI itself as well, right? So there are roles around those two. And then of course, there's always these specialized domain type of roles. If you were to come in healthcare, AI in financial industry, AI in climate, AI in education, there are aspects of that as well.
You have to say that my boys are a little bit older. One has graduated college and one is now a junior, and they've both chosen fields that are not kind of in the bullseye of AI today. My oldest is a political science major, graduated Rutgers, and has worked in some campaigns. Political campaigns, I'm sure, will be impacted by AI, but not necessarily the same as maybe the STEM field. And then my youngest is a musical theater student. So we really hope that AI doesn't have an effect on his ability to be performing on stage somewhere. That's maybe down the road a little bit, but we think that maybe there'll still be a need for musical theater performers, even in the world of AI.
I love that. Well, go ahead, Vivian.
My only take on this is, so I thought I was going to study political science when I entered college. I ended up studying computer science and minoring in creative writing. And I do actually think creative writing has been more helpful to my career in a lot of ways than I realized. And so I think a little more of a classicist when it comes to, a 4-year university degree. You should spend your time really learning a wide gamut of things. And then if you're going to more of a specialized vocational school, obviously that's different. But I meet a lot of students who want to know the newest technology at any given point in time, and having a good foundation for how to learn, I think, is more important. With any industry or any career, you probably have to learn whatever the new technology is, and I think that's just supercharged in computer science, particularly. But all the best engineers that I know, this is their nights and weekends. Like they are on Hacker News or on Reddit, seeing whatever is new. And so it's more getting that muscle. I think that's important. I do think 10 years from now, all the jobs will probably look different. There will probably be some element of technical understanding that you need for a lot of jobs, but it's more about the mindset than sort of what that actual technology is at that given point in time. Because things that I learned in college 10 years ago are not the state of the art anymore. And you have to keep on top of that. And so, generally I'm more of that kind of person where you should go to college, study something that's interesting, study something that teaches you how to learn. And then, from a career development standpoint, I do think there's other extracurriculars that you can do and that kind of thing that can actually set you better up for your career than sort of the technical underpinnings of what you might do in college.
Yeah, I love that insight, Vivian. The irony is students in this day and age are trying to plan and prepare for careers that aren't necessarily right now, but 4 years, maybe even 10 years, down the road. And so as a, part of our group, right, ESAI, and others, that we want to have this value add. I appreciate your all's perspective on sort of the ethics and sort of, the more discussions, but really want to get into the most important part of today's webinar. So I'll kick it over to you, Julia, and tell us a little bit more about ESAI and some of the tools that you offer.
Yeah, I can do that. Are you all able to see my screen? Awesome. So just to orient a little bit, this is what it looks like for a logged in student who enters SAI, and you'll see it's a pretty standard modular layout, and it's meant to be kind of grouped into very specific tasks in the college admissions process. I think part of the pain point that I hear most often from students and families is there's so many pieces to this puzzle and they happen over such a wide range of time. So, you might be building a school list or looking into majors months, if not years, before you're looking for rec letters or trying to find scholarships. So this is a very spread out process, and we intentionally kind of chunk it out into individual tasks that help you with what you need when you need it. But at the same time, we want the experience to be cohesive and kind of all rooted in this general story and theme of who you are. And the reason we kind of root everything that we do in story is that often what I found about students is they were, looking for things to talk about rooted in trauma or rooted in dramatic storytelling. And sometimes there's a place for that, but more often they were overlooking these really interesting hobbies and personality traits about themselves that they didn't understand really should be front and center or would be awesome to put front and center for different programs in schools. So we always kind of start students with our first free tool, which is called Story Strategist. And it walks you through just a few core questions about who you are. And we try to get deep into things like your values, hardships you've endured, hobbies, interests. And we start by just kind of identifying common themes. So here's a history tab where students can track everything that they've learned about themselves and what they've done. And just to show you an example of what it looks like when you've gone through a flow, you get an example of how could we connect your interest in sports to your family life and your cultural heritage, or how could we combine a couple of your interests, like being a builder and tinkering with things, to the idea of being a future healer, or if you wanted to work in the medical field. And what SAI is good at is just finding themes and unlikely connections across your story. So you're not just coming up with like, oh, that's an awesome college essay topic, like that's going to stand out. That's part of it. But it's also, how do we dig deep into who you are and kind of come up with a theme that shows up across your application. We also have, just to kind of show the layout of the site, a place where students can collect, different gems as they go through the process, so they know what they're missing and what they still need to work on, as well as places where students can track their acceptances. We just hit 500,000 high school students who have used the platform, so here's where some of our students share where they got in and what was effective. And we also offer some AI certifications. They're all free, that are counselor facing, student facing, and parent facing. So that's just a little bit of the layout, but I do want to show what a couple of these tools feel like to actually use. So a lot of them are rooted in this idea of storytelling, both in how you choose programs and majors and careers, but also how you literally tell your story in the process of college essays. So we kind of all alluded to earlier, this idea of research and making custom matches between you and the school you're going to. So we might ask a student, for example, what school are you applying to? What school are you writing a supplemental essay for? And you can put in any school. You can also be really specific and put in a sub school. So if you're applying to not only the University of Florida, but their School of Architecture and Design, you can be that specific. For this example, we can keep it general. You can mention which supplemental essay prompt you're addressing in this case. A lot of schools have the general like why UF, why this school, why that school. So we'll just keep it high level. And then we really help students dig into specific aspects of who they are, whether it's their values, hardships, hobbies, cultural background. We give you a lot of options. We're not going to force any student down a singular path, but you can kind of tell us, say you're really interested in something like hiking and being outdoors. And then again, there's kind of a common thread between all these different tools. So if Story Strategist helped you link your creativity to your cultural background or your hobby to your future goal, you can kind of re-emphasize some of those things here. Like I want my creativity to be front and center. And then what SAI helps you do is just find some of those unlikely connections between your story and the school. So this is kind of like the personalized research assistant piece of it. What it's not going to do here is write an entire essay for you. Nothing in here is meant to be copy and pasted, but instead it's let's find specific things we can mention, like the Paynes Prairie Preserve State Park, which is in proximity to the University of Florida, or can we mention the specific outdoor culture and commitment to sustainability at UF? And all of this is a good starting place to perhaps go to UF's website, look up those specific things and learn more and go a bit deeper. But it gives you ways to, talk about the Florida Trail Association or their outdoor adventure club, and just like get really specific and into the weeds of how you're going to make your hobby show up. How some of your creativity could show up too. And now we're starting to connect the dots on a really cohesive story. So again, the more students provide and the more specific at the sub schools and majors they put in, the deeper this can go and the more specific it can go, but it can really guide you into pointed research, which is just like a general mission statement of Florida, which is a huge school. We can go a lot more niche. I also just want to show one more tool. This one is less essay focused and more activity focused, but something I used to do a lot with my students one-on-one is challenge them to think, okay, instead of just mentioning the general clubs you were a part of or the sports teams you were on or the interests you had, how can we get really specific when it comes to quantifying your impact, showing the difference that you personally made, and ideally putting numbers behind some of that impact, which is something that a lot of students struggle with and a lot of adults even struggle with. How do I, on my resume say the percent increase of something that I did had on a result, or how much time I spent on something. So just to show an example in our personal stat calculator, you could say something as simple as I work shifts at my uncle's diner every weekend. And you can say how much time you spent doing that activity. I work 4 hours every weekend for the last 3 years. And even just something as simple as a part-time job with your family, roughly the amount of time you spend on it. What SAI is good at is helping kids see ways to frame their impact. So whether it's through time, like it sounds pretty significant to tell an admissions officer, I spent over 600 hours doing this. I served an estimated of 3,100 customers over my tenure at the diner, 40 hours a week. It's showing you understand how to explain your reach and the impact you had on a specific number of people over a specific amount of hours, even a dollar number in sales you helped facilitate. We can give you these estimates that are all meant to be starting places. Students will need to think about if that applies to the exact diner in the city that you worked at, but just helping students see a way that you could say, wow, what I did had a direct result on a business, on a dollar number in sales. We found really empowering to our students. So that's just two of our flows quickly. I could spend all day showing the different ways that students learn about themselves and how to tell that story. But hopeful that you all can try it out and see the different ways that students learn about who they are and how to match that to tools through our different modules.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia. We'll kick it to Vivian in just a second. You had two quick follow-up questions. So maybe these like yes or no answers. One was, did I hear correctly that ESAI is free? how does that sort of work? And is the school-specific information that's generated actually accurate and not sort of this hallucinatory, making things up that we start to see with some AI models?
Yeah, both great questions. So we're a freemium platform. Some of our tools are always free. The rest of our tools that are behind the paid plan, we have both a monthly and annual plan. We try to keep it super affordable. An entire year of SAI is less than the average cost of 1 hour with a tutor. But that said, all the tools can be used for free. They just have limited usage if you're not a paid user. And then on the second question, we pride ourselves a lot on our data sources and the accuracy and timeliness of our school information. That said, like any AI tool out on the market, we always caveat in every answer we give students and in our guidelines and in our terms that AI can make mistakes, AI can become outdated, it can hallucinate. So we do always, always, always encourage students to fact check, to use AI research as a starting place, to use it as a very specific path to go deeper on, but our success rate's pretty good. We ask students at the end of each tool to rate the accuracy of the information they got, and we're improving that all the time, so it's very important to us.
Awesome, thank you. We'll kick it over to Vivian and hear a little bit more about ACELY.
Great. I have a quick little demo for everybody here, and then also chat through some of our most popular features on ACELY. Great. So that was just a quick overview of the platform. I would say the reason why we built this product is because a lot of the feedback that we heard about our live tutoring sessions is that between sessions with their live tutor, a lot of students felt like they were stuck on a specific question or they needed guidance. So even when they were assigned homework, there was sort of this gap in the amount of help that they could get from somebody. And so we took that insight and built Acely as an AI chat tutor that you could work with 24/7 at any time that you needed. And a lot of the work that we did on the AI front was to actually make sure that we could eliminate this concept of hallucinations, which some folks have asked about, because in test preparation specifically, having one question that you believed that you got correct that was actually incorrect or vice versa would be a really challenging experience for a student. So we actually use AI and then our human tutors to develop the question set that we work off of. And then that is sort of the guardrails that our model actually works off of, is that they understand these are the correct question and answer sets. And then all of the hints or explanations or any sort of advice that we give a student is based off of that sort of verified database of questions that we've built out for these different tests. And so that's one of the reasons why, if you go to just vanilla ChatGPT or Claude, anything like that today, if you ask for a set of prep questions, then you may get some questions where the answers don't make any sense, or where they're based off of a completely different data set versus the College Board or one of these more accepted public data sets that exists out there. And so that was the initial sort of work that we did to build out this AI chat tutor that you could work with on this set of questions. And then after that, obviously, a lot of the requests that came in were for these performance-based stats, for ways that students could track their progress over time and make sure that they were focusing in the right areas. So over time, our goal is that actually a student should have to study for as little time as possible with as few questions as possible, because they can really just focus on the questions that they need the most help with. And so we do a diagnostic when students are first starting out, and we really just make sure that we are focusing our prep in the most efficient way possible and making sure that students, get the most out of the tool that they can. And the other, I think interesting thing is that this has really made SAT or a high level of tutoring accessible to more folks than we've seen before. A lot of the students that we work with are international students. They want access to these resources and they haven't had those previously. So that's been a really great way that we've been able to expand the set of folks that we can work with here as well. And then, over time, we're looking at adding more tests onto our platform and just making sure that we can also match students with colleges that are excited about them because of the scores that they've gotten, or whatever else that they're bringing to the table. So that's longer down the line. We've really just focused on this test prep and making sure students can get the scores that they want to get into the colleges that they want, and that's really been our bread and butter here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vivian. Really appreciate it. We'll move over to Dabble next. I'm having a hard time hearing you. I don't know if that's just me.
Yeah, mute.
How about now?
Yep.
Much better.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. What you're seeing here on my screen is I'm going to show you two different views. And as I was saying, Dabble is an exploratory platform for high school students and parents, counselors, their entire support network. So what I'm showing you on my right-hand side is the app, as you would see it. On my left-hand side is the web version, as you would see it. And it's available in either format to any of the users as we speak. So coming into the app, from downloading the app from the App Store to getting your first set of college and career recommendations that are personalized to your interests and preferences, our conviction is it takes about 5 minutes. What will you do as part of registering and signing up is you will create your profile. Basically, it's an email ID password type of a registration. If you're under 18, a note goes to your parents, they approve. And once you're done through that, you would come in and you would just add your interests and preferences, which, if you ask the students, what are you interested in? Most of them would either, or what your strengths are, most of them would either overcommit or undersell themselves. So what we do is, instead of going through an exhaustive personality test, we show them a bunch of words and let them pick what resonates with them, be it academic, be it general, be it what they would like to call as their strengths. We pick up all of that. We pick up their college preferences, whatever they want to add. And if there are any particular majors, they can go ahead and add their majors. Once we have all the information from students about their interests and preferences pretty much, on the first sign-in, they are directly routed to the page that we call as the Explore page, which shows them 3 different things: careers, colleges, and a pathway, which we are working on, roadmap, going from where they are today into the college and career they want to land to. Now, how do we do that? We start with the top of funnel, where we show them a list of all possible careers based on all the interests that they just told us in the previous view. And 2 major questions as users are looking through this: what kind of majors would feed into careers like these, and what kind of average salary you would make as this professional. So if you look through this, for example, I'm interested in biology and I'm an artist. We were talking about it in the previous screen. A career comes up that says biomedical illustrator. Sounds interesting. Student can just dig deeper into it, look at why we think it's a good major. So basically, we talked about majors and median salary, but then other things that are interesting. What kind of skills would you need to be a biomedical illustrator? What kind of job duties do you have? What kind of career outlook are we looking at this point? In our previous discussions, we have spoken about 5, 7, 10 years from today, the careers as we see them today is not going to be exactly the same career. I was reading an article that said 85% of the careers as they exist today will morph into something different in the next 10 years. And we are all raising professionals and supporting professionals of tomorrow. So we call this as the brutal honest fact. This is what the career outlook looks like. Feel free to explore more or move on to other careers. So if the student gets interested, they would just go and say, show me a list of all the colleges that are a good fit for this particular major that I'm looking at. So for a biomedical illustrator, what all different colleges are there? What all, and they're bucketized exactly in the terms that the students understand today: safeties, targets, and reaches. And as you look through these, you come in and you say, oh, I kind of like it. I'm going to explore more. You go in there. We keep showing you, the positives, the negatives, what kind of tuition, why we think this is a good college for you. And then you can choose to save this college or not. And as you save this college, once you go in here, your University of, the same thing, right? You see Riverside comes up. You look deeper down into more details around, okay, so this is all the details. We are working on bringing in some kind of information around what kind of test scores are they expecting, what kind of GPAs, where does this land, what kind of financial aid assistance will you get? But right now, and Julia was talking about essay reviews and all of that, which is a great start. We also offer a very simple thing for students where they can come in and they can generate their essay reviews. So basically, write up your first cut of essay, run it through AI, get some feedback. And I'll show you that in a second. But before that, we also show them if any of your friends in your network, your connections, kids you're connected with, are also saving these colleges. And if they are saving this college, now you have a cohort. While you're working through all of this, while you're looking at your list of recommendations for this college and careers that are coming up, your counselor on the left-hand side of my screen can go in and say, hey, for this student, I really see all the recommendations that are coming in right now over here. And I think that's great. Let me see what they're saving, or let me see, what careers they're getting interested in. And yeah, I can continue talking to this student about, oh, biomedical illustrator is a good career, you should save it. Similarly, for colleges, they'll keep seeing all the colleges exactly in the same way we are showing the students. And as you go through this, now you can start communicating with the student on the college itself. So for example, let's say both the student and the counselor decide that Purdue is a great first step, right? So let's go and look into Purdue. And now the student can come in and say, I really like Purdue. Let's see. And here is a sample of essay review that we generate for the student, where we don't change any of the verbiage. We tell them what's strong, what's not strong, the feedback, some suggestions on how they can make it better. And we just keep going through all of this. So we analyze every essay based on a combination of college and the program you're applying to. Once you are through that, we pick up a set of like 7 to 9 different parameters across which we rate the essay. Once you're done through this, once you enhance your essay, now you can send it to your counselor. It's not the first cut that they see. Now, on the counselor side, similarly, instead of asking a student about, and this is more tailored to school teachers and counselors, instead of asking the student about, send me a brag sheet or send me other things, the student profile is the brag sheet. We know about that. All you have to do is you have to say, generate me a letter of recommendation. And it could be a very simple letter. You can upload your sample. It would be tuned to your language and your tunes. And once you generate this letter of recommendation, we put a seal of Davos. You cannot take it exactly as is and send it to the colleges. It gets you a starter template. So instead of investing like a couple of hours on every student writing that letter of recommendation, you can now do it in a much smaller time. You take that letter, you just go with it. A few other things that we do for students. We scour the internet. We pull out all the roles that are available for high school students only for their summer. As we are building the roadmap, you can just go and look through all of this. A lot of personalization around this is coming. And we also, as you land on the first page, as you're landing here, we also show you a bunch of scoops around colleges. And we pull in the college news as well around us. So basically, as you continue looking through Dabble and what we do, it's pretty much a holistic platform that shows you almost everything that you need to know what colleges you're going to and how you're getting successful there. Now, there's a question around financing money, the yearly subscription and all of that. Dabble at this point is absolutely free. And the reason for that is we haven't built a paywall yet. The paywall is targeted for Q2 of this year. And the numbers continue to be relatively small. It's a B2C offering, and the numbers are $99 a year, $199 a year, and $499 a year when we introduce that paywall. All the details around that you will get at Dabble's website. So once you go in here and you go to the pricing, we detail out all of our prices right over here in terms of what a starter pack includes, what a pro pack would include, and what an elite would include. If you have any questions, my contact details are right here as well. You can reach out to us at any point. And with that, I am going to hand it off to you, Sebastian.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Last but not least, we'll go to CGN and Bob.
Thanks, Sebastian. So let me pull this up. And before I got a short video I want to share. Before I do, just a kind of a name comment here. When we started 4 years ago, it was College Guides Network. You'll hear me refer to us as CGN because we've shifted quite a bit in our focus. We haven't moved away from college, but we have certainly begun to focus a lot of our attention on non-college options, because when you build a product for schools and recognize today that, there are some schools where 50% of the students are not going to a college. And so you have to be able to create a whole series of potential pathway options and advice and content for that audience as well. So we moved from CGNC being college or career, because again, there's a lot of information in the site today about college and career. So let me go to a video and then I'll come back to you in a couple of minutes. Eva, intro to parents. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yes.
You are seeing this. Okay. All right. Let me try this again then. Let me turn up the volume a little bit. Okay.
Students' life after high school has never been harder. Kids are flat out overwhelmed with homework, activities, and distractions like social media. And let's face it, parent-teen communication was never easy to begin with. The college process is complicated and more expensive than ever, and career pathways are even more complex. Most parents report they are flying without instruments as they navigate decisions amid a national discussion about the value of college. Amid a deluge of unvetted information, parents are hungry for support and trusted all-in-one-place navigation, a source that is accessible on nights, weekends, and vacations. CGN is leveraging the power of AI to fill the void. We have developed a support system that is trustworthy, accurate, and trained by experts. Think of it as enhanced expert AI. The first component of CGN's three-part solution is Ava, our AI counseling assistant. The best AI chatbots have the best training from the best data. Better, more accurate inputs will yield more satisfying outputs for users. Ava is trained by more than 300 top experts on over 100 critical topics, with more being added every month to provide personalized, comprehensive career and college guidance. Ava delivers answers you can rely on, coming from experts you can trust. No misinformation or questionable sources, and it serves up CGN videos and resources to enhance your understanding.
What is worse than graduating with significant debt is not graduating with significant debt. So we have to make sure we graduate as well.
AI and experts are also the combination that powers the second part of our solution, your personalized roadmap or project plan to college and career decisions. You tell us a little bit about yourself and your goals and interests, and we assemble time-driven checklists and detailed project plans tailored specifically to your needs.
The first question I have to ask myself is, what do I want my college experience to be like?
There's really 5 traits that colleges want to know about students.
The majority of students who apply to an institution like mine, they're qualified. Like, they are qualified.
Why would we ever imagine that somehow magically every single kid is ready for college at age 18? Right? Like, that makes no sense.
Meeting families where they are, Ava, your personalized roadmap, and our videos are all available in multiple languages. Our tagline is experts for everyone, all in one place, and we believe it. We also provide regular alerts via email or text so you never miss a deadline or date. Access to experts is no longer just for families who can afford expensive private counselors. CGN levels the playing field for all families with a third part of our offering, live programming with top expert interviews coming right into your home to give you tips and tricks and answer your questions. Traditional systems like Naviance, Zello, and others focus on software tools for students and counselors. CGN complements these software systems by placing special focus on providing anxious parents with the best expert guidance and personalized content solutions. CGN, the total support system, ensuring better post-secondary decisions for all students. To learn more, reach out to us at ava@collegeguidancenetwork.com.
Okay, so let me just pull up a couple slides here because I know we're running against the clock. So how are we doing? So I'm going to share some data. Share some data with everyone here. So this is from the time we launched Ava along with our full solutions. We don't really see AI as the only part of our platform, as the video indicated. It's kind of a Ava and our live programming and our content database working together to personalize a pathway for families and again help support school counselors. So this is essentially data from the parents that have been on our platform since September. We're seeing very significant engagement. They're spending over almost 14 minutes on average per session. And for those who are familiar with the concept of a net promoter score, which is a range of -100 to +100, it's essentially, would you recommend this to a friend or colleague? 87.5 is very high. Just for context, Apple and Starbucks are usually like in the 60s and 70s. And then we don't do too bad with counselors either, right? Counselors are spending more time on our site, primarily because they have access to all of our resources. Parents are only accessing the content that's most relevant to them and their students. And again, the net promoter scores are quite high as well. So in terms of what we've done since our inception 4 years ago, we have 2 states that have adopted CGN, Massachusetts and New Hampshire. We have right now over about 100 school districts that are using our program. For those interested in the pricing, it is most schools are paying $5 per student per year for our platform. As we said in the video, it's very complementary to the software tools that are out there like Score and Naviance. And in fact, as you can see there, we have a partnership with Score as well as with NACAC. You might be familiar with us as the folks that produce the monthly webinar for counselors through our partnership with NACAC called Counselor Bites. And then we also are now working with some of the regional affiliates to promote not only CGN live programming, but what's coming next. By the way, this is a report that we now produce for schools that gives you a sense of what parents and students are asking and the topics they're looking at. That's a monthly report that's now available. And then lastly, this is coming. We have an app, a free app that's going to be launched in a few weeks for parents, Parent GPS. We're really excited about it. It's built on the same platform as our school platform. It's just now in an app form. And for those who are interested, the website is parentgps.com. You can actually pre-register. The app will be up on the Google and Apple app stores probably in early February, but you can go to parentgps.com, check out more information about it, but also register so that when the app is available, we'll email you and let you know where to go and how to download it. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you all being timely, very direct. I think that is an incredible amount of resources and, a short amount of time. And like I mentioned in the beginning, we will send the recording and any relevant links out to folks, as well as contact information so that you can follow up. We're getting close to our time, so I'll just finish by saying, again, thank you to our panelists for taking the time to share your resources, creating your resources, and being very open and transparent about things like costs, and how you're really helping serve our students as they navigate the multifaceted part of the college admissions process. Whether that's preparing for exams and tests, to finding the right universities, writing those essays, and really helping our students across the board. So we really appreciate your time. We appreciate everyone's wonderful questions. If you would like to follow up with us, if we didn't get a chance to get to one of your questions, for example, you can email us, aica@edhub.ai, or visit our website, edhub.ai. We'll have our recordings and all those kinds of things up there. We hope to see you at future AICA events. And again, thank you to our panelists. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thanks, Sebastian. Thank you all for joining.
Yeah, thank you all.